Hi, I'm Natalie with Eminence Organic Skin Care, and welcome back to In the Mix. And today's my favorite day because it's hashtag Ask Natalie, and we got two fabulous questions coming in from Instagram today, and I'm going to dive right in because the first one really makes me excited. And this one's from @SkinLashesBySam. Thank you for sending in your question. Can you make a video strictly on what masks mix well with others? Well, you know, this is like my super favorite thing to do, and I'm happy to accommodate your question. And I think the best place to start is, how do you, let's say, first, select the masks. Second is are they mixable? And third is, maybe it's easier to layer them. So how do we determine those things? If you've seen some of my videos from the past, I may have mentioned that normally when I'm choosing masks to mix together, I first start with a mask that's going to address my skin type. So if you're oily, normal, combination, or dry, you may want to select a mask that's going to be balancing. So basically, if you're really, really oily, you want to find a mask that's going to help you make you less oily. If you're really, really dry, you want to look for a mask that's going to be a little bit more rich, and that way that it's going to add more moisture to your skin. So first and foremost is selecting the mask for your skin type. And then the second one, I love to reach for something that's going to be something that I can change. So maybe an issue I'm having at that time, or something that I'm looking to correct over time. So I might have a long-term goal and a short-term goal when it comes to my skin. And some of these things might be, minimizing the visible signs of aging. So that could be, wrinkle depth, or I'm starting to see some the little fine lines show up around my eyes. It could be minimizing the appearance of dark spots. So coming out of like summer months, my skin might have a little bit more of the change in the skin, showing more of my dark spots. So I might want to think of adding a mask into my routine to help minimize that issue. It could be minimizing pores. So thinking about the goals you have for yourself and selecting a mask for that. So that's usually the way I go with it. And then textures to be mixing. So if I'm gonna literally take two masks and mix them up together and then apply it onto my skin, I think a good place to begin is stay with the same textures. So a gel mask and a gel mask, a creamier mask and a creamier mask, a clay-based mask and a clay-based mask. So this is a really good place to begin if you're a newbie. If you have been doing this a little bit longer, you can do gel and cream. My advice here, though, is I would apply the gel mask first. So now we're going to be working more in a layering direction, is that I will apply my gel mask first, and I'm working in the skin a little bit so I can get it going, and then I will add my creamier base mask over the top and then massage the two together and then let them settle into the skin for about 10 minutes. You can keep it in longer, don't worry about it, but the 10-minute mark is a really good place to manage the masks themselves. So these are probably the top tips. So first of all, select skin type, select a mask for concern, so things that you want to see change or your goal setting treatments. Then you want to decide, are these two mixable, gel to gel, cream to cream, clay to clay, or you can determine if you're going to be more of a layering technique. So if you want to use a gel mask and a creamier base mask together. So those are just probably the most instant, fast ways to make your decisions. And I want to now maybe share a couple of mixes so that you have an idea of what I'm talking about, and maybe some of the selections we are choosing today, maybe ones that are of interest to you. So I'll see how we go. So first, I was thinking about going maybe around your skin types and conditions, so I will match them to the masks, so that way then you have a little bit of a guideline or a little bit of a template that you can follow. So the first, let's say if we are more oily or problematic skin, we're seeing the appearance of blemishes, we want to do the masking because we know how valuable masking can be when we're really trying to get the job done. I would love to reach for our Clear Skin probiotic mask. This for several reasons. It's cooling. It has a very fresh, invigorating scent, so it feels very rewarding. So when you use the clear skin mask, it is a creamier base texture, so you don't need a lot of it, and you're more than welcome to add a little bit of water when you're doing the application. Totally fine. And then I may want to also encourage more hydration in the skin, because that is something that is problematic when you are more oily or combination. And in this instance, using the strawberry rhubarb mask is a really good option. This also has a bit of clay, so you have a great combination to work together. Scent profile, very nice. The strawberry adds a little bit of that sweetness, and then the clear skin is a little bit of that freshness. So you get that kind of cooling and soothing to the skin. Again, they mix beautifully together, and the ratio 1:1. Okay, if you are a little bit, seeing those blemishes pop up a little bit more and you're seeing them a bit more, you can change the ratio. More of the clear skin, less of the strawberry. So let's consider it this way: 2-part clear, 1 part strawberry, or 1 part and 1 part when you're doing your application. Make sure though, you don't need to use a huge scoop for both. You want to manage it so that you are still reaching about that 1/4 teaspoon mark when they're both together, not quarter, because you're gonna have a lot of product. So some good things to keep in mind here. And a last little tip, cream masks are pretty cool because if they don't have any little bits in them, like our strawberry mask, you can use it as a sleep mask. A little tip there for you. Now, moving on, if I tend to be a little bit more combination as well, I may want to reach for gel-based masks. I also like gel masks because they kind of give you they set and they tighten. So it's also a really nice effect to the skin to have that feeling of lifting, and really nice if you are thinking about contouring. I would definitely suggest using gel masks. So your combination, but even if you're thinking your combination and you are still looking at preventative, so preventing the signs of aging, I really recommend a super duper antioxidants or like really high power in there. So one of my favorite masks to reach for, and those who really do know me I like to have a salad on my face every now and then. So our gorgeous citrus and kale, this one, Potency and E mask. It's like a gel with a little bit tiny of cream texture to it. This one definitely gives you that tight egg white feeling, and your skin is really beautifully smooth, hydrated, and has a lot of pop to it when you take this one off. So this one, I just love. It's my favorite SOS mask. For those of you who know me, it's like my morning AM pick-me-up or travel mask. But in this circumstance, think about combination. We really wanted to bring our 8 greens, but this one is a little bit special because this is the 8 greens hot mask. So mixing masks together, from the question asked, is how do I know? It's just being mindful that what are your goals, what are your intentions? So adding a little bit of kick, a little bit of spice really encourages the performance of the products. So when I put them together, you're gonna get a beautiful, even complexion. The skin will be well balanced, and you're gonna have a smooth and bright pop to your skin. Excellent for combination, but really amazing combo if you're just looking for that perfect pick-me-up. So I highly recommend these two. They are amazing together, and they're both gel-based. And if you're definitely drier when you're using the bamboo age corrective, or even if you're combination, because we tend to lack a little bit of extra hydration in the skin as well as you needing moisture, mixing the bamboo with the strawberry is fantastic. They are mixable, so you don't need to do a layering of it because they both have that beautiful cream texture. And then the removal is super easy. I tend to like, if I'm doing like a deep dive in my skin with like richer masks, I'll leave them on a little bit longer. Definitely will put them on for, maybe 20 minutes and then massage it in as well. So you can take advantage of really punching these into the skin for longer periods of time so that you can really take advantage of the benefits that they both are going to provide for your skin. So those would be totally this is actually a really good comment. They're like in love. This is a really good one to do together. So I hope this really helps define for you. Great question. We had quite a few that we covered, but really just sticking to the plan. So type, condition, gel, cream, clay, and then deciding if they're layers or mixes from there. So the really most important thing is making sure you got the right two to begin with for your need. So thank you for letting me talk about that because I love it. So our second hashtag Ask Natalie that came in on Instagram comes from @nonies5, and the question is, what causes some of the products to pill up during the application? Usually happens in my eye area. Great question. I think this gets a little bit challenging at times because sometimes it usually strictly has to do with how the products are applied. So that's just a really simple way to start with it. So I'm going to give you a little bit of some tips to make things a little bit easier, and also at the same time give you some reasons why the pilling can happen. A couple of things. So if we're applying product quite quickly after, let's say, we've done something warming, so like coming out of the shower, the skin tends to get warm, we might feel some perspiration or some beating of just natural what the skin will do when it's warm, especially out of shower. It can feel a bit more dewy or like wet. I find that if I don't allow the skin to cool down a little bit before I start applying the products. And I mean cooling down because your entire body temperature has risen when you've taken a warm shower or bath, and that can just cause the products not to maybe not settle in as fast as you would like it to if you're quickly doing things in the morning. So one could just be that the skin is just not ready yet, needs to cool down a little bit, and you want to make sure that it's not producing any moisture, meaning the beading or the water beading that we can see in the skin. Second is we're applying things too quickly one after the other, especially if we like lots of things. So if you're doing, let's say, your cleanse and you're doing a tone and you're doing an essence and then you're doing a serum and then you're doing, another serum and then you're doing a moisturizer and then you're putting an eye cream on, it's a lot of layering going in. It's not that the layering isn't beneficial, it's just allowing that time in between each of those layers. This may also be something to consider according to your skin type. If you're in drier skin, then naturally everything will start to absorb quite quickly because your skin is drier and it's like, give me that drink. I need it right now, feed it in. So the product itself will just kind of drop in quite rapidly. If I am more oily, that means I have more lipid in the skin already. So to apply things very quickly, layering over layering, I'm also layering with my own natural oils. So this also can make the skin look a little bit thicker and not allowing them to get in and so on and in. That's probably the easiest way to look at it. And I'd like to wait between 30 seconds to 1 minute in between my applications. And this really is determined by my environment, what's going on in my skin at the time, and how many products I'm going to be layering in the skin as well. So a good marker, 30 seconds to 1 minute in between your applications. And then the third is to ensure that you're not using too much of your products, and to be mindful if you are doing like more water-based and then more oil-based. So consider something like a really light gel serum and then immediately putting on, let's say, a rich nighttime moisturizer, or even thinking about a sunscreen, right? So wearing an SPF, that's going to create a different texture to the skin altogether. So the pilling can just happen, and you're seeing around the eye area, and it could just be simple that maybe the products you've put on prior are just a little bit heavier around that area before you're applying your eye cream. So I may suggest to you is using your eye cream before you apply your moisturizer is a really good tip. Some do prefer eye cream over moisturizer, so if that is what you're doing, then I would recommend flipping it, and this also may change how that is affecting around your eye area and just slowing down your application. I hope that works. I hope that's clear, and there are just some circumstances that can happen. So I guess the real big message here is slow it down, allow each one to go on the skin, and then allow it to go in the skin. Watch how much you're using, and then maybe change the dynamic of your application levels. So eye cream before moisturizer instead of the moisturizer before eye cream. So I hope I answered both of your questions, and thank you so much for sending them in. We love getting your questions for hashtag Ask Natalie. It gives me a chance to have a little chit chat, and you sometimes just catch me in getting me thinking and exploring different ways to look at skincare. So thank you all again for always participating and sending in those questions, and I can't wait for our next round. So with that said, I'm Natalie with Eminence Organic Skin Care for In the Mix with another hashtag Ask Natalie. And if you want to see more of these, don't forget to hit subscribe. If you want to know when they're coming, hit the notification bell, and I'll catch you next time. See you later.